Things NASA and Harvard didn't intend to disclose have been leaked. Leaked by insiders. 3i Atlas may have altered its original orbit and accelerated beyond predicted models, shortening its approach time to Mars. Our aspirational second home suddenly sits much closer to danger. No one can explain in detail. No one can predict exactly. This may not just be a harmless flyby. This may be a potential once-in-a-thousand-years collision. Is this an astonishing natural phenomenon? Or an ancient switch flipped from a hidden control post? We need to investigate this as thoroughly as possible. Freshly declassified data is shaking the scientific world. NASA, Harvard, and independent observatories are now tracking every tiny fluctuation in the speed and angle of approach of the mysterious interstellar object 3i Atlas. This interstellar object can and has changed its speed and trajectory, but not by ordinary means, such as those of typical comets or asteroids. Its orbit is extremely hyperbolic, meaning it's moving so fast it can't be captured by the sun's gravity. Normally, such an object would simply speed up near the sun and slow down as it exits the solar system. But the latest observations have stunned researchers. 3i Atlas has shifted its course by 23.4 degrees, as if under deliberate control, with no visible propulsion, no outgassing jets, and no conventional explanation. Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb has hinted that this may point to unknown or advanced mechanisms at work, perhaps technology, something we have yet to even imagine.
If it came from some base, if it's actually alien technology, maybe they have a base in the outer solar system, at 1,000 times the Earth-Sun separation, it would have taken it about 80 years to reach us.
This is not business as usual. Something, or someone, may be steering this object. This object entered the solar system traveling at roughly 61 kilometers per second, carrying the highest eccentricity of any known interstellar object, about 6.14, compared to 1I Oumuamua's 1.20 and 2I Borisov's 3.36. This proves that its trajectory is almost perfectly straight. In fact, calculations show that 3i Atlas's orbit lies almost exactly along the ecliptic plane, the very plane where the planets circle the Sun. The probability of an interstellar object having such an orbit is vanishingly small, under 2%. In other words, 98 times out of 100, it should cut through the solar system at some random angle and disappear back into interstellar space. But 3i Atlas isn't doing that. Instead, it is gliding along the orbital paths of the planets as if traveling down a pre-drawn road, as if someone deliberately placed it right in the planet's playground. This rare and uncanny alignment has compelled scientists to recalibrate their understanding, prompting the question of whether this is merely a freak statistical coincidence, or the first genuine evidence that an interstellar object might be actively adjusting its own trajectory. The unexpected course shift now puts 3i Atlas on a direct path toward Mars's orbit, with a potential collision window opening as soon as October 3rd, 2025. According to the latest orbital models, if this object continues to adjust its velocity and trajectory, even a small gravitational kick in deep space could tip the balance. This kick might come from a close flyby, with even a smaller body like an asteroid. Any encounter that slightly alters its speed or nudges its orbit by just a fraction of a degree. At interstellar speeds of 61 kilometers per second, even the tiniest deflection is enough to shift its arrival point by millions of kilometers, potentially putting Mars directly in its crosshairs. And with every passing day, as 3i Atlas draws closer to the inner solar system, the margin for error shrinks and the probability of a collision scenario climbs. A cosmic countdown that NASA and Harvard scientists are now monitoring with growing unease. The latest observations from telescope networks around the world continue to strengthen the evidence that 3I Atlas is not just moving along an unusual trajectory, it is actively adjusting its course in a way never before seen in nature. One of the most shocking findings comes from Gemini South Observatory, whose newly released data has left the scientific community puzzled. Astronomers discovered that 3I Atlas's tail does not vent gas in the chaotic random way typical of comets, but instead releases CO2 at a perfectly regular 17-minute interval, as if following the ticking of a cosmic clock that has been precisely programmed. Each burst of gas lasts only a very brief moment, yet it repeats with near-perfect precision, a phenomenon never before recorded in the history of observing any comet or asteroid. This is not just a statistical oddity, it produces a measurable physical effect. Each pulse acts like a tiny thrust, and over hundreds or even thousands of cycles, they add up to nudge 3I Atlas's orbit in a controlled manner. Most strongly, this gradual shift is steering the object closer to the orbital plane of Mars. This no longer looks like random outgassing caused by natural heating or sublimation, but rather like a series of deliberate course corrections. If this is a natural process, it would be unlike anything ever observed in astronomy. But if this is an artificial mechanism or a form of advanced propulsion technology, perhaps we can witness direct evidence of a self-directing object entering our solar system from interstellar space. Could this be the first evidence of an active mechanism, perhaps a hidden onboard guidance system, or even an advanced propulsion technology never before seen by humankind? Researchers warn that the cumulative effect of these tiny, precise thrusts means 3I Atlas's orbit is no longer a random, natural trajectory. Instead, it increasingly resembles a path being steered by some invisible navigation system, as though guided through space and time toward a predetermined destination. If this hypothesis proves correct, then this is no longer the story of a wandering rock drifting through the cosmos. It becomes an interstellar enigma, a possible signal that challenges everything we thought we knew about nature, technology, and perhaps even the existence of intelligence beyond Earth. Even more astonishing evidence has now emerged. This time was not from a major observatory, but from veteran amateur astronomer Leslie Peltier. On the night of September 19th, he captured a sight so extraordinary. It has stunned the entire astronomical community. Surrounding 3I Atlas, 9 additional mysterious objects suddenly appeared, moving in perfect synchronization with one another. Unlike debris fragments that usually scatter chaotically in random directions, these 9 objects maintained an almost unnerving level of stability, as if all 10 bodies were connected to the same central control system. What makes this discovery even more shocking is that all 9 objects share the same brightness, coloration, and spectral signature as Atlas itself, including a striking detection of nickel without iron compounds, a composition extremely rare in nature but well known in industrial metallurgy. Could these objects be artificial constructs with a deliberate purpose, rather than simple chunks of space rock? If this truly represents a coordinated interstellar formation, then we may be witnessing a display of technology and organization far beyond human capability, a demonstration of power from beyond Earth. If 3I Atlas were to truly choose Mars as its stopping point during its journey through the solar system, the consequences would exceed any asteroid impact scenarios previously modeled. Scientists warn that a direct collision could release an unimaginable amount of energy, equivalent to millions of megatons of TNT, hundreds of times more powerful than the combined nuclear arsenal of humankind. An impact at such extreme velocity would generate shock waves penetrating deep into the Martian crust, releasing enormous thermal energy comparable to millions of simultaneous volcanic eruptions. The explosion could create an impact crater 50 to 60 kilometers in diameter, fundamentally altering the local Martian surface. This would likely rank among the largest newly formed craters on the planet. A massive volume of material would be vaporized and ejected into space, forming a high-temperature cloud. Some of this material would fall back to the surface, triggering secondary meteor showers, while another fraction could be captured into Martian orbit. In a worst-case scenario, a portion of these fragments might drift outward, intersect Earth's orbit, and enter our atmosphere within decades, leading to unprecedented meteor activity. Space agencies are urgently preparing for worst-case scenarios should Mars truly be placed in the path of a collision. As you see, humanity can still be considered one of the most intelligent species in the known universe. Facing unpredictable challenges is not merely a matter of defense or prevention. We also know how to seize the hidden opportunities within them. If 3I Atlas turns out to be just a weird cosmic rock, when it reaches Mars, we could collect the fragments and study their true nature. Such discoveries could bring invaluable knowledge to heavy industry, whether we find nickel without iron or a self-luminous metal core. More than anyone, we would have our horizons broadened. And what about Professor Loeb? He is even more optimistic. If it ends up being technological, we will know that not only there is life out there, but intelligent life, and that is very exciting. Professor Avi Loeb said, "Whether friend or foe, we cannot stop them. We need not panic. We should welcome them. We should negotiate with them. Perhaps, just perhaps, we will gain a teacher from a distant body of knowledge, one who could share the wisdom of an ancient civilization. The lessons we could learn might be among the most valuable in human history." What scenario will play out for the red planet in the coming days? The universe will soon reveal its answer.